This is the new 2026 BYD Atto 2 DMI, known for being the cheapest car currently on sale in the UK that is a plug-in hybrid. But don't let that put you off, because even if this thing's battery runs completely down, you'll still be achieving over 50 mpg using its self-charging system. So realistically, the plug-in is actually a bit of a bonus here. Just over £26,000 gets you a car with lots of tech included as standard, as well as the possibility of up to 600 miles of range with the two combined. But why should you pick one of these up compared to one of the big brand rivals or the emerging brands in the UK such as Chery, Geely, JQ, Omoda, etc. This has got a lot of merit. I'm really excited to tell you all about it, so let's jump straight in. I'm going to give you a full tour of the car and take it out on the road and see what I think. So then, the Atto 2 DMI. Obviously there is a fully electric version of this as well, which I'm not going to cover in this video, but is very much the same car underneath, just has a electric drivetrain, which I'll put up the information on the screen. What I really love about the Atto 2 is there's only two to choose from, and they're both different trims and different drivetrains. So it starts off at around £26,000 with the active model, which has 166 horsepower, 0 to 60 in around 9.1 seconds, and an all-electric range of 25 miles. So that's not a lot at all, but obviously if you're just doing very short runs and plugging in at home, it also means that just using a standard 3-pin charger at home instead of a proper dedicated EV charger would probably be just as convenient. The claimed economy of these is up to 471 mpg. Obviously that's a really wild figure based on the plug-in and very specific situations. I've been experiencing upwards of 90 mpg whilst the battery is charged, and even when the battery is completely depleted, expect to see around 50 mpg. So realistically, this is almost as good as a self-charging hybrid even when you're not plugging it in. It effectively uses that as a petrol generator and predominantly drives the front wheels with the electric motors. So most of the time it feels very smooth, like an EV, but not quite as responsive. And in terms of your entry-level trim, it comes with LED headlights, a rear cam, adaptive cruise control, large touchscreen infotainment with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and a full suite of driver assistance systems. The Boost model comes in just under £30,000, and that one has a faster 212 horsepower drivetrain with a larger 18 kilowatt-hour battery, which is good for up to 56 miles of EV range. Also heated front seats, heated steering wheel, 360 cam, vegan leather upholstery, wireless charging, and full Google Maps and Gemini integration. There's also vehicle to load as well, so if you need to power other devices you can do, and I think this is the sweet spot in the range really, because once you factor in dealer contributions and finance situations, you're going to end up with a pretty good deal on one of those. BYD currently offers this with a 6-year 90,000 mile warranty, and also the battery is 8 years and 120,000 miles. So really there's a couple of cars very similar price range, things like the MG HS, Toyota CHR, there's a few like it, but this is by far the cheapest plug-in hybrid, and like I said, even if you're not plugging it in regularly, I wouldn't let that put you off. If you're after a larger, more luxurious alternative, I'd be looking at the Geely Star, but for this size of car, this really is a standout, I would say. The Chery Tiggo 4 has also gone on sale recently at cheaper entry level than this, but that is only a self-charging hybrid, and it's not quite as smooth as this. So I think potentially this is a real winner for some buyers. It's definitely worth a look if you're after this size of car. So taking a look around the car, we have a fairly conservative front end styling. There's nothing too crazy going on here, but you do have really nice LED lights with running lights down there. You've got the BYD emblem in the center, and then the radars down the bottom. You've also got the front camera there as well, and this is finished in a nice blue metallic, which is actually just one of the included colors. So it's a very non-offensive design at the front, no sharp angles or anything crazy like that. As we head down the side, you can see we've got the electric charging flap there, and it is quite a short wheelbase car, but that doesn't mean to say that the interior space is compromised, because honestly the interior space in the back of this, as you can see from the squared off shape, the back is actually really impressing me, and also the size of those rear doors make it super easy for entry and exit. Plus you've got some standard door handles, some nice gunmetal wheels with chunky tyres on, so that means the ride quality is improved and also not too much maintenance wise. And then down here, these color coded areas, but this is part of the door, so it means that you don't get muddy trousers when getting in and out, so that's a nice little design quirk. At the back here you can see we've got this light bar design that runs across the top there. You've also got a nice kind of shark fin aerial, and this like lipped spoiler area, which is nice. You've got a rear wiper, which is always a welcome addition, and BYD don't go crazy with any kind of fake exhaust trickery or anything down the bottom there. It is just quite a plain simple design. You can see we've got the DMI brand in there, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It kind of reminds me of like the Mercedes and Smart stuff with this light bar at the back. It's quite a nice design. I'd love to know what you think about the styling of the Atto 2. Personally, I think it's fairly straightforward. There's nothing too crazy about it, but I do think it's more attractive than the Chery Tiggo 4. I also really appreciate that these ducts down here are actually functional. So heading inside the Atto 2, and as you can see, normal door handles. A lot of people will really appreciate that. That's really cool, isn't it, in this day and age? But the material quality in here is actually pretty good. So what you've got is what they class as their vegan leather upholstery, so you can see that throughout the cabin here. and it's actually pretty nice quality. So as we head inside, we've got that sort of same vegan leather across the top here with some stitching. You've got a nice integrated leather area here and a nice pull handle. This isn't aluminium, it's just like a plastic, but it feels pretty nice. And even some squidgy materials down here with some contrast kind of highlighty yellow stitching, which is quite cool. And also this little kind of light strip area around here, which is actually quite nice. You've got a door bin that has a bottle area, which is always pretty good, and everything feels pretty solid. You've also got a lip that extends right the way down to the bottom of the sill, which means that you're not going to get muddy trousers getting in and out of the car, which is nice. And as we head inside, you can see we've actually got a reasonable amount of storage in the center console area, and then some adjustment in this seat as well. This is the vegan leather, and it is quite squidgy and quite nice. You can see we've also got that same nice contrast stitching throughout the cabin here. And I think definitely the leather upholstery makes a difference. I think it's got quite a good feel to it. It doesn't feel like it's going to deteriorate that quickly. It's got quite a hard wearing, even though it is quite soft as well. So that's something to consider. So let's step inside and I'll show you around. So in the interior of the Atto 2 then, and it's actually quite spacious in here. What I'm going to do, foot on the brake, and down here we've got a start-stop button. So I'm going to hit that and spring the car into life, and you'll see that both of these screens spring on. And overall, this is quite a nice and ergonomic layout, I think. Like, this isn't angled towards me, but it's a nice large clear display, and as is this one, I can see it directly through the steering wheel, nice and easy. And everything's kind of where you'd expect it to be, with plenty of physical controls to boot, which is always a nice touch. So this steering wheel, you've got the nice contrast stitching, as I've shown you around the rest of the cabin, and then we've got our cruise control functions here. We've also got a button here for going through kind of our trip information, trip display, so you can see I can toggle through that on the left hand side to see exactly what's going on currently. And the economy has been truly fantastic actually. I've been achieving around 70 mpg with quite heavy acceleration and mixed driving, upwards of 90 mpg when just potting around in town with the battery charged up, so that's pretty cool. And then there's a button here that takes us to our surround view camera. You can also in here go into some of the ADAS systems and stuff like that, and you can also see that this one is equipped with the 360 cam that has the curb view monitor, and that is a really nice touch, especially on a car like this. Like, it's not particularly large, but people might be using it around the city. It's really cool to have a curb cam to make sure you know where your wheels are, so it's nice as a quick shortcut to that as well. Also a button here for assist features. It would be nice to have more of a one-touch sound off for your ADAS warnings. Some other cars do that a bit better, but this isn't too bad. And then on the right hand side here, we've got some media controls, your voice commands, and then there's also a button here to switch the main display here. And you can actually have Google Maps on here. It's got full Google Maps integration, which is really cool, or you can have this standard display. There's also a couple of different options to scan through on the right hand side, so you can have like trip information and radio. Obviously if you want to have your maps there, you can, so that's something that's pretty cool as well. But this central screen is going to be pretty comprehensive for most people, for most of the things that you actually want to use. So you'll notice that it's got its own kind of background and interface, very similar to what other manufacturers like Geely are doing, for example. We've also got an app display here, so you can go through, and there's apps like YouTube and stuff, which is pretty cool. You've also got karaoke, so kind of Tesla-esque if you like, which is really nice. And you've also got full screen Apple CarPlay, which is what most people will be using at Android Auto as well. We also have on here the BYD Assistance and Google Assistant, so you've got some decent AI features as well. You've also got your vehicle settings in here. This kind of display is pretty good. It's not the most bright or vivid, but it gets the job done at this price point. And as we scroll through the options, you can see that it's very responsive and has a very familiar interface. If you're used to kind of smartphones, iPhones and Android and stuff like that, you'll be quite at home here. You've got an EQ for your audio system, and also your energy saving mode. So if you want to keep the battery at a certain percentage, you can do that via this interface here. And there's also some options as well to go in and change your steering mode, so you can have sport for a stiffer steering, and also brake or comfort sport for your braking mode as well. A few different things there. And then if we go into ADAS, this is where you can go into your safety systems and remove some of the bings and bongs. It's worth noting as well, this is customizable roll on the bottom for quick things like your heated seats and things like that, and you can change that or head straight into your climate controls, which are fairly easy to use. There's no physical climate controls, not the main ones anyway, but it's quite easy to access from here and set and forget. And there is also a pull down menu from the top with some shortcuts, so you can turn on your energy saving, seat heating, and you can customize this as well. So there is a shortcut here to turn off the sound warning for the speed and stuff like that, so it can be forgiven. It's quite an intuitive system to use. It's also nice that there is full Google Maps integration on here, so you can see it's super smooth and easy to use, like the actual zooming of it as well. Like, everything is so responsive. It obviously used a decent amount of processing power in here, and you've got your AI assistants like Google Gemini built into this as well. So it's a really nice system, and I think integrates well into the car. Down here, you've got a really nice convenient tray for your phone. So you've got a wireless charger in this one with some ventilation. So that's really nice, up to 50 watts, which is decent charging as well. And this is all quite decent quality actually. Like, there is a little bit of flex to it, but there's not much creaking and rattling in here. Everything feels pretty solid, and even low down, the plastics that are low down feel generally pretty nice quality as well, which is welcome. Down in the center area here, you've got some nice physical controls. So you've got drive mode select. So up here you'll see that. So you've got normal, eco, snow and sport, which has a few differences. It's mainly to do with throttle response and kind of how the engine interjects. So I've been leaving mine in normal. It's the most pleasant driving experience. Sport interjects the engine a little bit more, but doesn't provide a massive amount of performance increase. And then of course your eco mode will try and utilize the EV kind of the most. You also got your hazard switch down here, your auto hold, start stop. There's a button shortcut here which switches between fully electric and hybrid mode, nice and quick and easy. And there's also your front screen defrost there as well, which is handy to have as a quick shortcut button. There are some drinks holders here with a little removable area in the middle. That's probably the cheapest feeling part of the car really, but it gets the job done. It's better than some others I've seen. And a nice large center armrest area with the contrast stitching. As you can see in here, a nice large open area. And the glove box as well is full size. It's not like one of those kind of flimsy, silly ones that you see in some cars. So that's quite pleasant as well. So yeah, overall, I think things are pretty nice in here. For this price point, the level of tech is everything you need, right? And whilst this doesn't look the best integrated, it's not the most stylish maybe, or the most feature packed, but it is a pleasant, nice quality interior. And I think on this top end model with the extra bells and whistles, it is going to be a pretty nice place to spend some time. You also have on the indicator stalk here, it is a full stalk, so you can turn it properly, which is nice because it means it's super easy to use. I don't like the ones on like Geelys and Teslas where they kind of return to center automatically. I like these old-fashioned ones, and there's some nice clicky controls here to control your wipers. And then on the right-hand side, just your standard gear select, so down for drive, up for reverse, and park on the end. Up top here, we have a nice generous mirror area with an LED light. You've got a microphone built into the ceiling there, and you've got controls for your electric sunshade on this higher end model. So the roof itself doesn't open, but the sunshade does. You can see that's now whirring away and revealing quite a lot of extra light in the cabin, which is a nice touch. And then out of the back, you can see large C-pillar, but not the end of the world. It's quite an easy car to maneuver. And like I mentioned, we've got that shortcut here for the camera. You can see the top down view is really comprehensive. It makes it nice and easy to see around the car, so it's not really too bad at all. I don't really think there's any issues with visibility. The door mirrors are also nice and large and have a blind spot monitor in the corner. So yeah, totally acceptable cabin for the price. I don't think it's exciting in here, but it gets the job done. The tech is really useful and really usable. There's obviously enough horsepower in there for future updates as well. And I like the fact that the phone holders are here and everything's kind of out of the way. It is a fairly ergonomic design in my opinion. And then heading into the back, you'll see that actually things are pretty decent back here as well, because we've got a completely flat floor, which is a bit interesting, isn't it? You would expect it to be transmission hump in here, having a combustion engine, but because of the layout of the batteries and so on, it's not like that, which is really cool. And there's a nice steep rate to these seats as well, so it means that you're going to get a decent amount of thigh support back here. I'll jump in a second and show you. But again, you've got this cool grab handle style back here, and also you've got the large door bin. Everything is pretty decent quality back here as well. Still some scratchy plastics down bottom, to be expected really in this class. And then in here you've also got Isofix as well. The Isofix are the squish between the seat kind, so you may end up with some wear on the leather around that area potentially, but nothing too crazy. There isn't, however, any center console area to bring down, so there's no like cup holders or armrests or anything, but kind of to be forgiven in this price point, I think. There is, however, 2 USB-Cs down here. It's a shame there's no kind of storage area or anything in here, but it's not the end of the world. You do have a little pouch on the back of the seats. It would just be nice to see some extra drawers or something down here. There's also normal power and USB-C under the center console there. I also like that you've got this little kind of sunglasses holder up where the driver's door handle would be. Stepping into the back of the Atto 2, things continue to impress, because back here I've got loads of room at 6 foot with my driving position in front of me as well. I can stretch my legs out fairly reasonably. I've got enough thigh support, and if I was to kind of maneuver a little bit, I can get really comfy back here. I've got a grab handle there to put my arms. I can put this back. I've got a nice bit of back support as well. I think the seats are really supportive in here, and plenty of headroom, a good couple of inches of headroom. So I think long journeys back here would be absolutely fine. I wouldn't want to put 3 adult passengers back here purely because the car's quite narrow, but obviously the flat floor does help out with that, and if you've got kids back here it's not going to be an issue at all. I normally struggle to get my legs comfy at the best of times, so actually for this class of car this is really good. So let's take a look inside the rear, and this is a manual opening tailgate. So you'll see the actual parcel shelf is quite easy to use. It is literally just 2 bits of string, pop, pop, and then give it a tap, and away it comes. You can't really get away with storing this under the floor though. It's a little bit impractical, so I would recommend having to remove this if you need to. So with the parcel shelf removed, you can see we've got a nice flat load area. So loading in is nice and easy, and then actually pull the tabs in the seats and pop those down as well. They clear the front seats nice and easily, which is always a plus. And as you can see, this carpeted area makes it nice and easy to load things in. Now, you've actually got a fairly large open at the back as well. So as you fly through here, you can see this is the only sticking point. So because the seat is quite high, you might not be able to fit taller items in that part, but overall it's really convenient that it does this. And also the seat belts tend to hook on the edge of the seat, so it makes it less likely to snag when you pop them back up, which is always a nice thing. You've got 2 large wells in either side, and you've also got a bit of lighting back here. Underneath this false floor, which is included across the range, you've got plentiful space for your kind of bits and bobs, like your charging cables. You've got the tyre kit back there, and you've also got some tie downs in the back as well. So you can also open this section up on the left and right to have some wider items in there. But yeah, so actually quite convenient. There's not an awful lot of crazy features back here, but it's sufficient for most people. A pretty practical car overall, because especially considering its wheelbase, it's actually really impressive in the back in terms of space. So let's get the thing close up. I'm going to take it on the road and show you where else it impresses. So out and about in the Atto 2, well, what can I tell you apart from that? It is actually a really nice, smooth experience, as expected, because it's using the petrol motor effectively as a generator and you're mostly on that electric drive. It just feels really smooth and comfortable. The suspension even is really comfy over potholes and bumps, and it doesn't feel too jumpy at all. It's not going to win any awards for its kind of dynamic capability, and that kind of goes for all of its rivals as well though. They're not designed for that. They're designed to be really good daily drivers, really smooth and super efficient, and that's what this is. In terms of that efficiency, I've been poodling around. Obviously my battery is charged at the moment, but what I'm experiencing is in the realm of 90 plus mpg, because it's using a lot of the battery power, and that's in hybrid mode. So I can press down here and put it into full electric mode, and then it becomes a little bit more responsive in terms of the way it kicks in and the way it feels, but you do lose a little bit of grunt at the higher end. Acceleration, pretty decent, and it's only when you really floor it that you hear that engine kick in to provide that extra power. It's very similar to the systems used by kind of Nissan for the e-power stuff, and also Geely, which are doing really well at the moment as well. So I think that is definitely one of the main rivals here. Obviously it's more expensive, the Geely Starray, but it is a larger and more luxurious car. The ADAS stuff isn't that intrusive either. Yes, it will tug you left and right a little bit with the lane keep assist, but you can turn it off in the settings. And the actual speed bong as well, not the least intrusive one I've heard. It does bong quite loudly, but there is a shortcut on the steering wheel which takes you to the controls that you need for that. It is a little bit more direct than I expected it to be though, to be honest. Like the actual handling and the turning, whilst it's not a sharp car at all, it's definitely not as floppy as some others in this sort of segment. And there is this sport mode for the steering, which does firm things up a little bit if you prefer that. And also in terms of the braking, the brakes kind of at speed are really good, really responsive, especially for a hybrid car. Sometimes hybrid cars, you get like a spongy, horrible feeling to the brakes, or they go really juddery at the bottom point, but this one isn't too bad at all. The only thing I would say is it is a bit grabby around town, so sometimes when you're at really low speeds, you can kind of tap the brakes a little bit and it just all of a sudden it feels like it's jolting you forward a little bit. So you just have to get used to how responsive and sharp they are at those low traffic situations. But the good thing about that is they're not creaky and groany at all, and they feel pretty confidence inspiring. There's quite a high level of regen as well, which you can turn down. Personally, I have it on the highest setting and I'm quite happy with it. Overall, I think it just adds to the experience of the car feeling a bit more like an EV than some others. And that's the thing. Obviously, people look at plug-in hybrid and they think, oh, well, you know, if I haven't got a chance to charge it at home, it's not worth having. But in the instance of this and the Geely Starray, for example, it is actually not the end of the world, because even if you don't charge the thing up, you're still going to be achieving probably around 50 mpg, which is really good, and it still feels nice and smooth in the process. Also, if you just suddenly plant it, you do feel that it wants to get a little bit skittish in the corners. It doesn't quite know how to put that power down through the front wheel drive. It does pull you nice and forward, but sometimes I think in the wet conditions, in the icy conditions, you might find that if you just plant your foot, it's going to skip and hop a little bit. But that's kind of the same with all of these Chinese EVs and hybrids. I think they just potentially need to tune a little bit better for UK roads and also just manage that power delivery a little bit. That being said though, most of the time you're just going to be pottering along, aren't you? And it's not going to be really relevant. And I quite like the driving position in this. Even I can get a commanding view over the car. I've got my elbows rested. I can adjust the steering wheel nicely. The seat's comfortable enough for longer journeys. So I think actually you'll be quite pleasantly surprised with it. It's quite spacious in here as well, considering the, you know, the size of the car overall. It feels bigger in here than you might think. In terms of power, let's go for an overtake. Quite instant response, and then you feel the engine kick in, and that's when it really starts to move. And it is quite quick, to be honest with you. It's more than you would need for your day-to-day driving. Just obviously be prepared that in those really high intensity scenarios that the engine will scream and rev a little bit, but yeah, it's quite rare for that to happen. Obviously it will happen more frequently as well if you are letting the battery completely deplete, but yeah, it's really not that intrusive most of the time. Even at sort of 50-60% throttle, I can barely hear the engine at all. And what's nice about it utilising the electric motors more than the petrol engine, like in like a more mild hybrid, I do get kind of quite an instant response of torque. It's only at the higher end, like motorway speeds, that it takes a second to kick in, but at low speeds it's got more power than you'd need. Let's go for some heavy braking. Yeah, really responsive. It's actually not bad at all. Chuck it in up here. Bit of wheel spin. But it's not as floppy as a lot of the other Chinese brand EVs. I think a lot of them aren't really tuned for UK roads, and even the Geelys, which I always praise for being super comfortable and luxurious, and they are specifically tuned for UK roads, by the way, and European roads. They make sure of marketing that. They are still very, very soft cars, whereas this is a little bit more planted. I do find it more responsive than the Chery Tiggo 4 as well. It is obviously slightly more expensive, but this I think is a nicer experience in terms of a user experience overall. And of course the addition of being a plug-in hybrid means that if you have the facilities, you've got that all-electric usage as well, rather than just standard self-charging hybrid. At low speeds, quite manoeuvrable, quite refined. I don't hear much noise from the outside. Steering is weighty enough that it doesn't feel completely detached, and as much as I don't get much texture through it, I definitely feel what the car is doing beneath me, and that's enough in this sort of car. Yeah, I think this is the sort of hybrid that most people can get on board with, because you don't feel the engine really, you don't feel the gear change jolts, you don't feel anything too mechanical. It feels like driving an EV with a generator basically, and that's helpful for a lot of people, because at the end of the day, if you can't charge this, or you find it hard to charge this, then you've always got the petrol motor as a backup, and it's not going to completely fall to bits like some other brands plug-in hybrids and some older plug-in hybrids, where as soon as the battery is depleted, you're back to a standard engine. It's slow, you're only achieving like, you know, 30 mpg or whatever. This isn't like that at all. It almost feels like a self-charging hybrid when you don't plug it in. So treat the plug-in as like a bonus. This is the sort of car that's really going to excel in these traffic situations as well, because it's just so smooth. Of course, it's not the same as having a one pedal drive EV, but it's not far off, because you've got such strong regen and the throttle is so smooth. Yeah, in a low speed scenario like this, it's just so pleasant to live with. This being the cheapest plug-in hybrid available in the UK, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I thought maybe it might be a bit disastrous, but actually what I found is a really competent little car. I'm really putting it for its paces down this rutted little road, and yeah, the major potholes it's not so great at, but ironing out the imperfections, I don't feel much of the juddering underneath me. It does a nice job of damping it all out. Coming from some of the larger brands, it's refreshing to see that this has very minimal choice when it comes to the spec, so it makes it really easy to buy one, especially on the used market. But also, it's just the fact that their dealer network is expanding, and also the warranties are getting better and better with these emerging brands in the UK. And obviously BYD is a massive global brand, and in China they do exceptionally well. And I think they're going to prove themselves here in the UK too, with cars like this at this sort of price point. Yeah, they're starting to make a name for themselves for sure. So I definitely think if this is the sort of car that you've been looking for, it's well worth a look. I'd take this system over any mild hybrid, because in those you still get gear change jolts and you still get the hesitation of the engine and that kind of thing. You don't get any of that in this. It's just smooth and easy. And it's interesting to see BYD now positioning themselves as a competitor to a lot of those low-end cars as well, because when they first sort of arrived in the UK to sell consumer vehicles, it's really like a sort of Tesla competitor for EVs. But with these hybrids coming in to compete with MG and JQ and Moda and Chery and all these other big brands, I think it's a real shake-up for the market, and I think if you're looking for this sort of car, this is definitely worth a look. So there we go, guys. Thank you so much to BYD for bringing me out to test the car. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're looking for the reviews of the alternatives and the rivals, please do hit those on my channel as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.